This first question is a great question to ask in reference to the Great Gatsby, because a large part of the overall message of the book is a social commentary on the American dream and how it has changed over time. First, I think it is important to note that the American dream is more of an abstract concept incapable of being directly measured through the physical world. This means that one cannot fully realize the American dream by just accumulating material wealth, however appealing as it may seem in the moment. You mentioned in your question about greed, easy money, and the selfish pursuit of pleasure as things that distort the model for the American dream. I agree on the first two items as objectively negative things that disrupt the pure pursuit of the American dream, but I do not agree that a personal pursuit of pleasure should be viewed in that light, because the American dream is all about seeking personal pleasure. Additionally, many philosophers define pleasure as one of the world's only inherently good elements, so I don't see it as a negative. But to get back on topic, I will concur with your insinuation that this book seeks to commentate on the corruption of the American dream. If you critically analyze the themes presented and the symbolism used, you'll find that Fitzgerald was trying to bring light to the issues that the time period around the 20s created relating to the American dream. The American dream, in its purest form, represents opportunity and hope for Americans. I do want to argue that the American dream was never about promoting social equality, only social opportunity. Because our founding fathers, the creators of this American dream, had no intentions of giving everyone in America equal chances. They had a great overall concept, but corrupted their concept instantly with their incorporation of slavery and sexism into society. These things are the opposite of equality. Anyways, the 20s was a time when America began truly breaking apart race and gender discrimination, which would seem to be a good thing for the essence of the American dream. The issue was that people began acquiring wealth much easier than the past, which increases the chance that people will be influenced by the evil nature of money. That is where the Great Gatsby inserts itself into the equation. J. Gatsby was a representation of how people can lose sight of the true meaning of the American dream so quickly if they are not careful. So often, people sacrifice moral sanctity in the pursuit of monetary wealth and justify it by incorrectly attributing their choices to the idea of pursuing the American dream. There are many examples within the text that prove my point. One is the quote that says, "He stretched out his arms towards the dark water. I distinguished nothing except a single green light, minute and far away. When I looked once more for Gatsby, he had vanished." This image of Gatsby reaching out towards the green light was meant to represent his endless pursuit of Daisy. But if you take a broader view, the green light could represent Gatsby's pursuit of money, status, and the past. Gatsby was always chasing fulfillment by chasing a distorted view of the American dream that the 20s created through money and greed. Another quote worth mentioning reads, but Dr. Eckelberg's eyes, dimmed a little by many paintless days under the sun and rain, brood on over the solemn dumping ground. This quote refers to a billboard advertisement seen early in the book, and again after everything in the book had transpired. Early in the book, the eyes in the advertisement once represented a naive and hopeful view of the American dream. After wealth, fame, and greed tarnished the characters in the story, especially Gatsby, the advertisement is seen again, but this time it has been worn down by the weather over the passage of time. There's a parallel there between the American dream and the billboard. After the billboard has been damaged and Gatsby has died, the eyes on the advertisement are a representation of clarity. an unveiling of the true evil that can be created through money, greed, and fame. For the second question, this question of the effects of money on moral purity is relevant now, just as it was in the 20s when this book was written. To me, I see the passage you provided as a criticism of white supremacy in American history. Tom and Daisy are a representation of the wealthy 1% of Americans who exploit their power and social status for personal gain at the expense of the majority of society who suffers. Throughout American history, powerful white people have acted similar to how Tom and Daisy acted in the book. Whenever their greed and carelessness created a mess, they fell back on their wealth and social status to save face, and then repeated the cycle over and over again. These wealthy Americans like Tom and Daisy have a disconnection from the common man and do not grasp how destructive their actions can be to everyone else. Your question was also about people today. Are today's 1% careless as Tom and Daisy were? The short answer is yes, they are. But there's always exceptions to that rule. I'm not going to say everyone is that way, because there are wealthy people who do great things for America. But one of America's greatest issues today is the vast income inequality in society. The top 1% of Americans controls about 40% of the nation's wealth. That's a dangerous distribution of wealth because of how much power these people at the top have over everyone else. In general, these people do not take time to consider the perspectives of the middle class and below, leaving them detached from reality. Many of these wealthy people are just like Tom and Daisy, meaning that they were born into wealth, never knowing how hard life can be for everyone else who has to earn their way. This creates a catastrophic chain of events where the top 1% have so much wealth that they do not need, leaving no money for Americans who just get by or die early in their poverty. Real-life examples of the corruption in the 1% of Americans are easily seen in the political sector and on Wall Street. One person that quickly comes to my mind is Larry Summers, who is an economist, and he was, I believe, the president of Harvard. He was also a big part of why the financial collapse of 2008 happened. He pushed many policies in the political sector over decades that led to the market collapse. He never took time to consider how his actions were creating a chain of events that led to so much suffering for a lot of Americans due to the housing crisis. The issue is that he will never feel the weight of his mistakes because of his wealth and power. And that's the moral of this story and the book. Rich and powerful people become corrupt so often because they do not experience the consequences of their actions. And this leaves them no incentive to do the right thing for everyone else. Why should they?